everyone, I'm Taylor from Bravely Beautiful, and today I'm going to be reviewing the new Foundation X Plus from Natasha Denona that just launched at Sephora recently. I wanted to pick this up because I've heard such great things about Natasha Denona's eyeshadows and some of her other products that I had really high hopes for a foundation from her. This is supposed to be a long-lasting full coverage foundation, so if you would like to see my full review on this foundation, then just keep watching. First off, let me tell you my skin type so you can use it as a reference if you are looking at checking this foundation out yourself. So I have oily, acne-prone skin. I am also very fair, which can pose a challenge sometimes when finding shades from different brands. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and prep my skin while I tell you about the claims of this foundation. Side note, this is my new favorite primer. It's from Clarins. It's their Instant Smooth Primer. It's really good. So Natasha Denona is claiming that this is a long-lasting, full coverage foundation with a natural finish that doesn't settle into fine lines. She says that it's good for all skin types and that it is supposed to balance the T-zone and absorb excess oil. It is $45 from Sephora. Okay, I finished priming my skin. So right from the start, when I was looking at this foundation, their shade range is not that great. There's 20 shades. There's only 2 in the fair category, 2 in the light category, and almost none in the deep category. It was pretty bad as far as deep shades. Now, I got the shade 22R Light. Technically, I am not usually a light shade, but the descriptions of the fair shades were not sounding like a good match for me. The lightest one looked practically white, and the other one was a yellow tone, very yellow, which would not go with my chest skin tone at all. So I went with one with like a neutral pinkish undertone, hoping that I could just make it work because there just weren't very many shades to choose from. Okay, so packaging, I don't have any complaints about the packaging. It looks fine, it's nice and simple. It comes in a pump, which seems appropriate for the consistency of the foundation. The pump works well, so no problems there. They do say to shake the foundation really good because it is quite liquidy. Okay, let's move into application. They recommend a brush or a dampened beauty sponge, which is what I chose because that's what I prefer and use anyways. So this is my second time using the foundation. It is quite liquidy. I found the easiest way to do it was to apply the foundation onto your face first and then blend it out with the beauty sponge. So it blends quite easily. But as you can tell, it's not covering up everything. And I needed 2 full pumps to get this amount of coverage. Now, it does feel quite light on the skin. Yesterday when I put it on, I noticed that it felt like I didn't have any foundation on my skin. It blends in quite well, actually. Okay, so this is my first coat, and I am definitely seeing a lot of breakouts through the one layer, and that was with 2 full pumps. So I can tell you right now, this foundation is not full coverage. It is it's definitely a medium coverage. And I don't even know that it's that buildable. So I'm gonna try using a little bit more and see how much more coverage I can build out of it. So it is somewhat buildable as I'm looking in my mirror here, but I would definitely still need concealer on top of this. And I did quite a bit of that foundation, probably I would say 3 layers in some spots. I mean, it doesn't look cakey when you build it, so that's nice, but it really just doesn't have that much coverage. You know, compared to the Marc Jacobs foundation that I reviewed last week, this is definitely a medium coverage, and that would be full coverage. So I don't like that they advertised it as full coverage. The finish on the skin looks nice, but it's a little more dewy, I think, than I would prefer, just because I already tend to be on the oilier side and I end up wearing my foundations for 14 plus hours. So I would prefer that it start more on the matte side. Okay, so without powdering, I just kind of wanted to feel, it hasn't set quite yet. I can see some on my fingers. So I think it takes a minute to set, because when I used this foundation yesterday, after I put a little bit of powder over it, it set quite nicely and I could definitely touch my face and not get anything off on my hand. So I would say with a little bit of powder, it sets quite nicely and is pretty transfer proof. I actually like how the finish is looking, but I just know it's not going to stay that way because I tend to be oily. So if I only needed this foundation for 6 to 8 hours, I think I would like it. I just wish it had a little more coverage, but finish wise, it's nice. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish up the rest of my face and then I'll be back. Okay, so I finished putting on the rest of my face and I have to say that everything applied really well on top of the foundation. There wasn't any problems with skipping or, you know, it being kind of patchy when I did my bronzer or blush. So it does really well with products applied on top of it. I really like how it's looking right now. I like the finish of it right now. When I wore it last night at about hour 7 to 8 was when I started to notice oiliness kind of like around my nose and a little bit on my forehead, maybe a little bit on my chin. And then it just got progressively more oily after that. The picture that I'll insert right here is after 16 hours of wear, and you can definitely tell that it's oily. It broke down a little bit through here, which, I mean, I was at work 16 hours, you know, I kind of expect that a little bit, especially considering that it's not a matte foundation to start with. So my final thoughts, I think this is actually a really beautiful foundation. I like the finish. It wears pretty well, especially considering that I have oily skin. Someone with normal skin or normal to dry skin, this would probably last a really long time. My biggest gripe with it is that it is not full coverage. There's no two ways about that. You know, this is about 3 layers and it still wasn't full coverage. So while it does build a little bit, it doesn't build a full coverage. So if you don't need to cover up a lot of scarring, acne, hyperpigmentation, anything like that, then you would probably really like this foundation. But if full coverage is what you're looking for and what you need, then this is not the foundation for you. It did set really nicely, like it's not sticky or anything. I think you do need to set it with a little bit of powder though. But it does feel super light on the skin. It really doesn't feel like I'm wearing any makeup. But I definitely had to do quite a bit of concealing even after several layers of this foundation. I definitely don't notice it settling into any fine lines. So overall, I would recommend this foundation, just not if you're looking for a full coverage foundation. Considering that I have this foundation on 16 hours, I'm not really mad about the staying power. It's not super surprising for it to get shiny and separate a tiny bit by the end of that. So I'm not too upset about that. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below if you have any questions or comments for me. And make sure to subscribe if you would like to see more content from me. I do things like tips and tricks for acne as well as makeup reviews. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.